You're listening to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, the show that proves no one stumbles upon success ever. With your host, Lou Need. Every Mondays and Thursdays, we deliver cold hard evidence behind the power of a robust morning routine. Get ready to be transformed by the renewal of your mind.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Looney Lewis, and today I have the honor of introducing a very special guest to the show, Yvette Rose. Yvette is committing to creating healthy communities. She believes that honoring the unique biochemical individuality of each person and in the benefits of knowing what helps create a healthy gut microbiota through plant-based medicine and lifestyle. And today we're going to hear all about the healing benefits of doing so and how it encompasses the whole being into being super healthy. So no further ado, Yvette, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. That was a beautiful introduction. And I'm glad that you're talking about the emphasis on the plant-based medicinal lifestyle that I do have, because like I was sharing with you, being a woman who's 49 and entering from perimenopause into menopause, it is so important that we understand that journey is extremely complicated. Mm-hmm. And it is something that I feel is good to go through intuitively and to allow yourself to sort of feel the feels so that you know what you need to pull out of your lifestyle and bring into your lifestyle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It totally makes great sense. And that's why I'm so excited today. Because even before we got started, we're talking about migraines and how, you don't take medicine for it. Neither do I. Like I just let the body do its own thing. And you were talking about that a little bit earlier. So before we get going, tell people a little bit about your background, your journey. And I know you're from Brooklyn, as I am. So give us a little snippets of how you got to where you are today.
So I was raised by a single mother, teenage mother. She was 16 when she had me, and I was raised in the projects in Bushwick and then Brooklyn. I was lucky enough to have my grandma and her sister, my great aunt, who were also part of helping to raise me. But as far as lifestyle back then, it was all about survival.
Yep.
And the Puerto Rican culture, definitely, the food was not super healthy. And we were also really poor. So the food that we grew up with, my grandma did the best that she could, but it was definitely in the 70s and 80s where we were using microwaves and canned foods. But then actually dropped out of college, high school, and lived on the streets for a while, partied, had a really abusive ex-boyfriend. And somehow, some way, I realized that there had to be a better way, better life for myself. So on the streets, I decided to put myself through college, and I started the journey of visualizing what it was that I wanted for my future and where I was. I remember the day sitting out of the projects one day, I was looking out the window and I said, this cannot be my life. Like, this is not going to be my life. And so I went through college, got myself a really good job, found a really amazing man, and I ended up getting accidentally pregnant. And while I was 12 weeks pregnant at that time, I had been partying a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol, really bad lifestyle. But I decided I was going to keep this baby and do what I could to have this baby naturally. So I found a birthing center and I started to learn about meditation and yoga and basically holistic lifestyle. When I gave birth to him, naturally, he ended up being rushed to the hospital. And I ended up being rushed to the hospital. We both had separate issues. I had hemorrhaging and he had a high fever that they couldn't control. So being I don't even know how to call myself. I'm pretty powerful. I'm 5 feet tall, barely weigh 100 pounds. Hemorrhaging, I told my mother, just get me a gallon of orange juice, drank the orange juice, put on huge pads and ran in the snow in New York City to the hospital so that I can be with my baby who is in the hospital as well. So even though I was hemorrhaging, I was supposed to be admitted. I was not going to let them keep me away from my baby. And I stayed in the hospital with him. He was in the hospital for a week, trying to breastfeed him, trying to understand what was going on. At that time, I was really not educated in a lot of how the hospitals interfered with our belief system. And even though I wanted to do it as natural as possible, they injected him with many things. He had antibiotics, he had a spinal tap. So when my baby came home, if we would have known then what we know now, he was definitely displaying autistic behavior. He was colicky, wouldn't breastfeed, wouldn't sleep, had terrible rashes, wouldn't look you in the eye, wouldn't let anyone touch him. Noises irritated him. So needless to say, for the next 2 years, it was a really difficult journey. But I say I was guided. I was allowing myself to be a channeler because it was definitely not something that was taught to me, nor did I hang out with anyone that was in that sort of vibration. I found a holistic pediatrician who helped me use things like milk thistle and lavender massages with my son. Started doing plant-based. We didn't have no dairy, just super mindful about everything we were doing. It was a really, really difficult time. I mean, he had a lot of different therapies. He would catch tantrums in the middle of the street. But I determined. I gave him probiotics when he was about 8 months old. I started giving him probiotics, learned about lactobacillus, bifidobacillus, acidophilus. And then as he was getting older, probably about the age of 5, he was starting to look the doorman in the eye and say hello. He was starting to be more independent and build more confidence. His rashes were starting to go away. His tantrums were starting to ease up. So I started to learn about gut health and realizing that the inflammation from my lifestyle that was passed down to him was causing him to have these very autistic Aspergerish behaviors. And so as I started learning about gut health and time was going on and the medical world was starting to learn more and more about women's hormonal systems, women's gut health, and how mothers' gut health is passed down to their children, I started to learn more about what we needed to incorporate to begin to ease the inflammation and bring microbiota diversity. Essential, when we talk about morning rituals, essential was really setting the foundation of what was to come. Because with our older son, it was definitely a day-by-day experience, and you never really knew what challenges were going to come your way. And so meditation became a practice that I pulled in when he was about 14 years old, because as he was getting older, things were up and down in our household. And I had another son as well, and I was running a business. So as I learned about the microbiota, women's gut health, my baby's gut health, I started really diving into what can we put into our bodies? What does our bodies need? How do we learn about estrogen detoxification? How do we learn about balancing hormones? And like you mentioned, I woke up it was Saturday, I woke up with the migraine. And it came out of nowhere. But what I learned is that I had just finished my period. And as a woman in perimenopause, shifting into menopause, what that means is that my estrogen levels just declined significantly. And so it must have caused this elevation in inflammation inside of my head because of the hormone imbalance. So I allow myself that time and space in the morning, especially, to tap in. And if there's any aches and pains and discomforts, then I take the time to really tap in, tune in, and listen. What is this about? I knew that I wasn't drinking. You can't make the excuses of eating too much sodium. There was none of that. So I knew that it was hormones. So now I had to let my body go through the process. Yesterday, I just took my bioidentical estrogen and progesterone cream, doubled up on it, did morning and nighttime. This morning, I thought I was going to wake up with a headache. I took a cold shower, really, really super cold. And now I feel great. I still have the paleness in my skin, but I feel much better.
You look amazing. And thank you for sharing that, because a lot of us, we're not in tune to our bodies to actually find out what the root cause of the inflammation is or that headache. We're so quick to pop in an ibuprofen or aspirin to actually help the symptom, but not necessarily the cause. And so it's reoccurring. What are some tips? Because it sounds like this is all self-taught, Yvette. right? It sounds like this is from experimentation for your son, experimentation for yourself as well, but you're getting tremendous results, so many people would love to have this type of knowledge to help with inflammation because you can't see it. You kind of just feel the symptoms of it, the aftermath of it, and by then it's too late. It's almost like when we get a headache when we're dehydrated. By the time we're thirsty, it's too late, right? That's what we're treating. We're treating so much the symptom versus just the root, or how to kind of maintain it. So give us some tips on how to become aware of the body and in the intake, and what the aftermath can be.
So when you ask for tips, first and foremost, so my education comes from, I'm a certified holistic health coach, certified brain health coach, certified gut health coach, 500-hour Yoga Alliance yoga instructor, meditation practitioner. So throughout the years, and really, and I think there's nothing more powerful than a mother and her child, and how powerful that love and that determination. And so throughout my education, it was always to try to learn how I can help not just myself, but also my family in the dynamics that we had. And so when I tell my clients to, first and foremost, it is important for you to wake up and take a moment to breathe. Just simply breathe in and breathe out. And as you're breathing in and breathing out, notice the fluctuation of the thoughts. Notice if your thoughts are stuck in what was, the worries, or what's to come. And then as you're noticing those thoughts, just simply breathe in and breathe out and bring yourself to the present moment. And I do that every morning without touching technology or anything. And then as I'm breathing in and breathing out, noticing the thoughts that are in my mind, I start to scan my body. What does my body feel like? Sometimes, you might have slept poorly and the pillow caused some aches and pains on the shoulders or the neck. So I start to scan my body and think, what is it that my body feels? Well, how is my mind feeling? Then when I step out of bed, I tell my clients, look in the mirror. Your face, your skin will tell a whole lot about what's been happening, because like you said, inflammation is caused by what's already happened. But the best news is that the body loves to heal. The body wants to heal. So it takes a really quick, short period of time for that inflammation to ease up. So by looking in the mirror and noticing if you have darkness under your eyes, if you have any, these white little pimples that you get on your face, is a sign that cortisol was overly activated while you were sleeping. And so that meant that you were sleeping in a stressful state. So it's like connecting. What was I worried about? What was I stressed about? What do I need to let go of? And this is like a whole half an hour conversation between me, myself, and I, myself, and my higher self. So then after I look at my tongue to see if my tongue is really white, see if I'm dehydrated, see if I ate too much processed foods. All of those things are the things that I consider. And like I mentioned, I woke up with a headache. And at first I didn't know what it was about, but then it was, now at this point, I know that I am shifting into menopause. And I know that during the times when you have your period, it is recommended that you don't use your bioidentical creams. So I knew, okay, my estrogen and progesterone levels must be so depleted that I'm now, and, unfortunately, I don't take pain meds. So for me, it's like I have to go through the journey, because once the migraine is there, the pain is there, and I don't know how long it's going to last. So, if you have responsibilities and you need to take those pain meds, I have absolutely nothing against pain meds. I have ADHD, diagnosed, brain scanned, ADHD, ADD, and anxiety. So I do have prescribed medications. I have one is Vyvanse, one that's Adderall, and then I have my vitamins and my supplements. And I'll know when there are days that that my brain is way more active than I can control it. And those days, I look at my medications, I looked at my vitamins, I ask for guidance on which one is for my highest good. And that's how I choose how I'm going to move forward. And then, of course, movement, stepping I go from meditation into movement. And then that's when I step into my day. So it is like an hour and a half before. And I don't normally eat. I do fasting mostly in the morning. I've always been that way. It is just, it feels better to me to not have the food in my stomach. And now that I'm getting older and require less, calories, it feels right for me. There are some mornings I wake up super, super hungry, but some mornings I fast.
Yeah, way to listen to the body. I love the mirror work that you talk about, is actually just assessing how you look like. I know for me, if I've had too much salt or too much carbs the night before, my eyes are puffy. And then I know, okay, we're not going to do that again tonight. Okay, we're not going to have the mashed potatoes for dinner, because then you can see it. You can see it in your skin, on garbage in, garbage out, what you eat. It reflects on your skin, your hair, your nails. And so I didn't know about the cortisol, like over secreting cortisol with the black spots around your chin or the nose area, because I've noticed those on my skin as well, but I didn't know what it was for. But now it's good to know it's called overdrive. The cortisol is an overdrive. There's a stressful state there. So now I'm going to be paying attention to how to minimize that. Thank you for sharing it. So that's really neat. And I really I love the morning ritual to kind of prime yourself for the day, just to actually set the tone for the day, because we do need that time to take care of ourselves so that we can show up for the rest of the world, so that we can show up for our family, so that we can show up for our clients. Because if we can't give what we don't have. If we don't have tranquility, we can't give it up. If we don't have health, we can't pass that on either. So I really like that notion. So tell me a little bit more about how you get up, dress up, and show up, right? Your morning routine. You talk about meditation and movement. What else do you do for your morning routine to prep you for the day?
So because, again, I am a practitioner that believes in both science and energetics, the meditation allows me to tap into the energetics. It allows me to really listen to what's going on and setting the intention for the day. And then when I step foot in the kitchen, and this is where science comes in, I do have blood work done yearly, and it's really a gauge for me to know where my body's at. And so I know that I have a mutation of MTHR, which means I don't process vitamin B12, and I could easily become anemic. So when I go into my kitchen, my meal plan is based on getting that vitamin B12 essential amino acids in the morning, along with fiber. So I'm a really visual person. When I go into my kitchen, it's tapping into did I go to the bathroom enough yesterday? Was my poop good this morning? And then if I feel any sense of bloating, if I see any dullness in my skin, that's how I base my diet plan. Like you said, maybe I shouldn't have the mashed potatoes, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with having the mashed potatoes or the potato chips or the whatever. It's a balance in life, right? And just knowing that was yesterday. And so today I want to be mindful about what I'm putting into my body so they can offset that inflammation that may have been caused from what I ate yesterday. And so I don't believe in depriving myself. And I think that is super essential, that we understand the balance, because, eating cookies and chips in my family, with my family at night is a ritual. It's how we sort of come together from the day. I'm not going to take that away just because I had this rigidness of what I shouldn't be eating, but it isn't a practice that I will do every day. And it's also something that when the next day comes, stepping into my kitchen in the morning and getting myself ready for my meal planning, that's how I decide what I'm going to eat and what I'm going to try to keep away from.
Well put. Do not deprive yourself of the things, the essential oil. It's balance. It's a balancing act, knowing when to substitute for the healthy and the healthy, because if you just are so rigid, you're not going to keep up with it. That's the same thing with habits, right? If you're so strict with it and you're not giving yourself to ease into it, then you will lose motivation very fast, and you will not continue to build the new habits or the healthy habits. So this is well said, and thank you for sharing that. Tell us, how can we get in contact with you? How can we connect with you?
So I own a company called Joulebody, and that company I started that company based on helping women to learn more intuitively. And part of that is I am a gut health, holistic health coach, and my website is yourguthealer.com. And then I create food. I created bars that are, and I'd love to send you bars. I created bars that are plant-based, gluten-free, that are designed for gut health. So they have anti-inflammatory herbs inside of them, like turmeric and fennel seeds. So you can get that. That's part of my daily eating ritual because it has the fiber and it has the protein and the plant, anti-inflammatory plant ingredients that the body needs. So yeah, yourguthealer.com or joulgoddess.com if you want the bars.
Yes. How long have you had Jules Goddess?
So Jewel Goddess has been a journey. I started it as a company called Joulebody back in 2011, and it was a plant-based prep food company that delivered nationally. We were the first to do that. And then in that, I had started formulation for these bars, and I was coaching clients. The reason why I was doing it hand in hand was because I was trying to learn what were women struggling with in their eating rituals. And so as I was coaching clients, I was creating foods, I was creating products. And then in 2015, I had a breakdown. My older son had alopecia. He was suffering a lot. And so my best friend from high school had glioblastoma, and she had a 6-month-old baby, and she was dying, and I was taking care of her. So I had a breakdown. My company closed overnight. And when I relaunched in 2018, I relaunched it with all the experience that I had, with the mission of knowing that it is my life's purpose to help women learn how to be more intuitive with their bodies and minds. I think we haven't been taught of how individual we are, about the fact that we create human beings, and that's how complicated our bodies are. So my mission became how to really create services and products to help women be more intuitive in their bodies and their minds. So that was in 2018. So it's been a long time, but I would say 2018 Jewel Goddess rebirth.
That is fantastic. I will put all that in the show notes for my listeners to get in contact with you. It's been a pleasure having you on the show today, Yvette. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time,